Good morning and a warm welcome. Holly Shields here for Kalkine TV, reporting to you live from Sydney, and you're watching the Global Markets Roundup. Let's dive into some key highlights and happenings from yesterday, starting with the US market. Well, world shares extended near record highs on Monday as risk assets found support from an upbeat US October payrolls report, and investors faced positive readings on US inflation ahead of more detailed consumer prices this week. World shares gained 0.20% after skyrocketing last week as relatively dovish central bank messages and the strong labor data in the US added to the optimism generated by a healthy earnings season on both sides of the Atlantic. Benchmark US indices closed higher on Monday, November 8th, lifted by gains in basic material and tech stocks and an upbeat economic outlook after lawmakers passed a $1 trillion infrastructure bill. To the markets now, and the S&P 500 was up 0.09%, while the Dow Jones rose 0.29% and the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.07%. Plus, the small cap Russell 2000 was up as well, 0.19%. Traders were upbeat after the House of Representatives passed a $1 trillion infrastructure bill last Friday, following a month-long wrangling over the draft legislation. The strong third-quarter results of companies lifted the indices in recent weeks despite concerns over supply disruptions and inflation. According to analysts, more than 80% of the S&P 500 companies reported so far have topped Wall Street expectations. And on top of this, last week's better-than-expected jobs data from the Labor Department helps subdue the labor market concerns. Sectorally, basic materials, energy, and tech stocks led the gains on the S&P 500 index on Monday, while utility and consumer staple stocks were the bottom movers. 7 of the 11 stock segments on the index stayed in the green, while the strengthened commodity-linked sectors helped the European stocks inch up to record highs to close on Monday, although broader gains were stifled by some weak earnings and a lack of any major cues. Well, it's time now for a short break, but stay with us because we'll be right back to look at the UK and Aussie market updates.
Tune in to get the latest information.
Whether it's about market movements or the currency graph,
Sectoral coverage or industry news.
we cover it all on our news segments.
Be on top of the latest news
With Kalkine TV. Welcome back to the Global Markets Roundup. Well, the Pan-European Stocks 600 closed marginally higher at 483.61 points, with basic resources, SXPP, and energy stocks leading the gains. London equities hovered in the range-bound territory on Monday, with investors tiptoeing the markets, seemingly as they await any major developments that can categorically impact these markets. All this as shares of Darktrace emerged as the biggest gainer among the 101 constituent-heavy FTSE 100, with the stock rising 12%, emerging as the clear winner for the day. The domestic market index FTSE 100 traded 0.09% higher from the previous close. Although the index failed to breach the previous 20-month high of 7,331.25, as the market participants eye a slew of macroeconomic numbers, which will be revealed on Thursday. The Office for National Statistics will be publicizing the balance of trade preliminary estimate of GDP growth rate for June to July quarter, production metrics for industries and manufacturing, alongside the construction output for September of 2020 on Thursday. Meanwhile, the mid-cap indicator FTSE 250 shed 0.09% from the previous closing mark. The index is just over the 1,200-point mark away from its 52-week high. And to Asia now, Japanese shares closed lower on Monday as deconstruction stocks weakened on some downbeat earnings, while drug makers lost their footing after Pfizer's COVID-19 antiviral pill showed promising efficacy in a trial. The Nikkei share average fell 0.35% despite Wall Street finishing strong on Friday, slipping from a one-month high hit on Thursday. The broader topics ended 0.30% lower as well. Plus, Chinese stocks rose on Monday with tourism and new energy shares leading the gains, as investors latched onto data that showed exports from the world's second-largest economy beat forecasts in October to deliver a record trade surplus. The blue chip CS1300 index closed 0.1% up, while the Shanghai Composite Index gained 0.2%. And South Korean shares fell to a new one-month closing lower on Monday, driven by losses from biopharmaceutical firms and as investors stayed cautious ahead of inflation data from the US and China later this week. The benchmark Kospi closed 0.31% down, recouping earlier losses of as much as 1.29%. And back home, Aussie shares may be open marginally higher, following a positive overnight session on Wall Street. Plus, the rise in oil and copper prices is expected to further push up resource stock-heavy market. The ASX 200 fell slightly to just over 7,452 points on Monday, as traders sent the most US Treasury yields higher as well, ahead of a note and bond auction this week. Meanwhile, the dollar slipped yesterday after Friday's jobs data was released. The dollar index fell 0.191%, with the euro up 0.19% as oil prices rose following the passage of the US infrastructure bill. Brent crude was up 0.7% to $83.30 US a barrel, while US oil was up 0.5%. Gold prices surged amid dovish central bank comments on interest rate increase plans. Spot gold added 0.3% to just over $1,822 US an ounce, and US gold futures settled 0.6% higher at $1,828 US dollars. Meanwhile, Ether hit a record peak and Bitcoin jumped to a 3-week high. Ether's record top of 4,768.07 was hit last week and last up 2.6% on the same day. Then, on the other hand, Bitcoin rose 4% to 65,000 US dollars. NAB today as well announced a final dividend of 67 cents after reporting a strong rebound in profit during the financial year 21. Beating market expectations, the company's cash earnings rose 76.8% to $6.56 billion in the period under review. And statutory net profit rose as well to $6.36 billion US. With that said, that is just about all for now, but keep watching Kalkine TV for more market updates. Holly Shields signing off.